At the beginning of this year, James Gunn revealed his plans for the DC Cinematic Universe, including 10 projects, 5 of which are films, 5 of which are TV shows, and the best part is that that's not even half of the stuff he has for his first chapter, which I'm pretty sure is only 5 years long. So we're getting 20 plus projects in total. Something tells me, at least 4 of those are getting canceled. But in the case they don't, these 10 projects look pretty good so far. The only ones I feel like aren't going to be particularly good are Lanterns and Paradise Lost. I never really watched Game of Thrones, so I can't really say it's my thing. And I also just, why would you put the space cops on Earth for an entire show? That just seems like the dumbest possible decision you could have made. But it got me wondering, if I were to just sort of create my own DCU, how would it work? Now, I am not a director. I am not a writer. I don't know how movies are supposed to work. I'm not a good caster. I don't watch a lot of movies or shows often enough to really understand things. But I am a huge fan of the DC characters, and I know probably way too much about their stories, and I want to see them adapted correctly into live action. So instead of doing what other pitches for a DC universe do, where they kind of just explain their slate of movies and stuff and add all these creative plots that are very fun to look at, I'd rather focus on the character evolution throughout this series. And so I'm going to be tackling a bunch of characters just that I feel like I should be tackling and uploading videos on them. I'm going to try to do this as a daily thing because I have I have time in my hands right now. So might as well do something with that time. And for my first character, I'm actually not going to cover any of the main leaguers first. I actually want to cover Nightwing. And the reason I'm not starting with any of the major leaguers is because I would love for the DCU to tackle legacy characters and really make them the focus of the universe. And that's kind of what I want to do here. And it's all going to stem from Nightwing. So just full disclosure, Nightwing is probably one of my favorite DC characters of all time, if not one of my favorite comic heroes of all time. He's basically Batman, but if you took the absolute insanity of that character just completely out. He's basically the perfect hero. He's been raised to do this since he was 12. He has done so much super heroic feats that are just filled with raw talent, no superpowers whatsoever. He's awesome. An entire generation of heroes just view him as their leader, and even the ones above him view him as the best of them. So Dick Grayson is definitely a character that I would love to see done right in the DCU. Now, obviously, the reason Batman had a young boy sidekick in the comics was pretty evident. It was to give young readers of the comic a character to identify with. It became a really big trend with tons of other comic superheroes getting sidekicks. It just seemed obvious. You want kids to read comics more, you introduce sidekicks. So that's how we got Aqualad, Kid Flash, Speedy, Wonder Girl. Actually, Wonder Girl, there's a bit of an interesting origin too, but I'll get to her when I get to her backstory and stuff. But yeah, sidekicks were very popular to do. And one of the weird things that's always asked about sidekicks is why would these grown men be palling around with preteens or teenagers, people that are just either in or fresh out of middle school. And that has always been a little weird, but it's comic books. I say just let the weirdness go. Just let it overtake you at this point. Dick Grayson as Robin was a very big thing in DC. You know how today you have Batman, Superman, and Wonder Woman as like your core trinity. Well, before Wonder Woman, actually, not even before Wonder Woman, during the time, like, Wonder Woman was still being active, like, during, like, the Golden Age, still, like, the Trinity was Superman, Batman, and Robin. Like, he was, like, one of the most important characters in DC Comics at the time. And the thing that allowed this character to basically surpass his, like, role as sidekick a lot was when they started doing the Teen Titans comics, where they took like a bunch of sidekicks and had them all sort of team up, and they all had their own little like character developments, and like tons of Titans team would follow, and there would be tons of evolutions, and you get to see these characters just sort of grow from like teens to adults and evolve along that time. And characters evolve, like growing and evolving isn't something DC does a lot for anyone other than their like teenage heroes. So it's very cool to see those characters develop. And Dick Grayson really evolved a lot during this time. He evolved from like a young man to his own hero as Nightwing, to being the leader of the Titans and like the Outsiders and even the Justice League. So like he has grown a lot. He also became Batman for a time, and like I'd probably argue that he's a better Batman than Bruce Wayne in a lot of ways, because like he's just a better person and a better hero than Bruce was. Like that's kind of just Dick Grayson. He's pretty much the next generation of superheroes. So how do we take that character from the comics and bring him into the like cinematic universe per se? Like he's appeared a lot, and obviously we can't like take every single story he's ever appeared in and put it in the universe. Like that's just unrealistic. That's not something like we could really do. So I just want to focus on like those major stories that he was included in. Like the first one obviously is the George Perez Marv Wolfman Teen Titans. For those who don't know what that is, basically if you've seen like the Teen Titans 2003 cartoon or the Teen Titans Go cartoon, it's basically that team with the addition of like Kid Flash and Wonder Girl, which is Wally West and Donna Troy, by the way. Not not like Bart Allen or Cassandra Cain. Cassandra Sandsmark. Cassandra Cain, different character. But like I could imagine like in my DCU like the George Perez Marv Wolfman Titans kind of taking up like phase 2 of the universe. I could totally see like that being what they do with that team. And then of course we have the Chuck Dixon Nightwing run, which I'd probably throw into maybe like phase 3. I think would be like a pretty good place to throw like an adaptation of one of those stories onto like phase 3. So you have Titans in phase 2 and then Nightwing in phase 3. And of course he'd be a supporting character in like most if not all of the Batman films. So basically you just throw him into like the Batman films. He is a Batman supporting character still, so it is important to have him in those films. He's probably the most important Batman supporting character. But I'd also include him in like maybe one Birds of Prey film, maybe in like its first film, and I'm thinking like phase 3. I don't know when I want the Birds of Prey to debut in this universe, but I'm just gonna stick with phase 3. I just really want to see sort of the Nightwing and Oracle relationship kind of go, because that's my favorite ship for Nightwing. I know some people really love Starfire, but like I also like Starfire, but I prefer Barbara. I would also do the Grant Morrison Batman and Robin run, where Dick Grayson became Batman and his Robin was Damian Wayne. I would probably do that in like phase 5 though, because like that's gonna take a bit to build up to. So like phase 5, is probably a good place for like the Batman and Robin like adaptation to kind of happen. There's not going to be a lot of like major changes I'd make to his character. It's just basically taking things I love about the character and just like changing them like slightly. But like for the most part, everything would be mainly the same. I'd just be removing most of the stuff that happened like after like the New 52. So he's not gonna be like a secret agent or anything. I don't really care for that storyline. Maybe in like Phase 6, you could probably throw in some like New 52 stuff, and onward, but I don't really care. I'm just gonna stop at like Phase 4 and have like ideas for like Phase 6, for Phase 5, I mean. Obviously, another focus is on like Nightwing's like love life, because like he's the type of person that like is like can like commit to like one person, and that who that person is for you depends on like the type of stories you kind of grew up with like Dick. Like for example, if you're like a huge fan of like the like Teen Titans stories, like either in the comics or you've watched it in the animated series, you probably love like Nightwing with Starfire. That's probably your favorite. If you watched like Batman the animated series, or like TNBA, or like read like the Batman comics or Birds of Prey comics, you probably prefer Barbara with Nightwing. And so it's just a preference thing. Interestingly, I was introduced to the Starfire ship first, but I prefer the Barbara ship. I just like it a lot better. What I'd probably depict, I'd still have the Starfire relationship 100%. But I depict it more as like a sort of like teenage love affair, sort of like happens in like Phase 2 and stuff, and like they'll have the whole like wedding storyline in like Phase like 3 where it's interrupted, but like instead of being like by like a demonic raven and like future Nightwing, it's a weird story, but it would be like Tamaranians like coming down, because like Blackfire now has control of the planet, and that could lead to like a Starfire like solo film or series. And it, well, not solo because Nightwing would be there, but like a Starfire film or series that would focus on like the two of them and like the resistance of Tamaran, just freeing Tamaran from the control of Blackfire and the Citadel. I think that would be cool to see. But like, so she'd free her people and she'd be forced to stay to make sure that like this never happens again. And of course she would. That would be something that Starfire would 100% do. So it would give a definitive end to this sort of relationship. And I think it would give an end that would be satisfying and not like feel like we're really biased on who we want Nightwing to end up with. As for the type of costume I think Nightwing should have, simplicity is best, and Nightwing has some really simplistic costumes. Like his modern black and blue on like appearance is definitely probably going to be the best and the one they should pick for the DCU. There have been a few detours between his Robin years and this year. His original Nightwing costume was like very much from the 70s. Like you can just tell, even though the costume first appeared in the 80s comic. But then he had like a mullet and ponytail, which just looked completely wrong. And like then he has his modern costume, which is just like it's perfect. It's the perfect look for a superhero. Also, this is like one of the few male characters that like have been drawn for like the female gaze, because like you see most female characters draw for the male gaze, but this is the first time it's like drawn for the female gaze. Like we all know at this point, right? It's been a part of his appeal for a bit. like other characters have commented about it in continuity. It's just fun. I feel like that should be brought in, kind of. It just maybe as like a one-off joke. I don't know. I just think it'd be funny. Next, I want to talk about is the Batman costume, which is like it's different enough from the original Batman costume that it feels unique, but it's also just feels a little too like samey. I'd rather have like a costume that like sort of looks like it's a mashup between like the Nightwing and the Batman costume. And I found this one fan art that looks like exactly like how I want it, like the like bird slash bat on like the chest, and then that goes into like the blue cape, and it doesn't look like a muscle bound suit. It has like, but it seems to have like the Eskrima sticks. I just think it looks really cool. So like I'd probably use this as like for the films and stuff. As for like my plans, well, not my plans, but like what I would do with Nightwing going from like phase 5 onwards, it would be basically to make him like the leader of the Justice League. He will like take over as the leader of the league. And like this is because like one of the main things about DC is their collection of legacy characters, and I really want them to step into the limelight. Like, give the OG characters their, like, 4 phases of fame, and then, like, give these characters their 4 phases of fame. Or, I mean, how many phases it lasts. I think that would be cool. I base it, like, heavily off of, like, James Robinson's Justice League, which was a very promising team if it didn't get cut off by Flashpoint and New 52. And I just want to give these characters the focus they deserve, and Nightwing deserves like most of that focus. So he's gonna be like by phase 5, we're gonna have Bruce Wayne be like quote unquote dead, and so like he's gonna be Batman. So he's gonna be the Batman of the Justice League and the Batman of Gotham. And I love him taking his like mentor's role, because it shows how much bigger he is than just Batman's ex-sidekick. Now he's, like, the Batman. He's the best superhero in the world. And, like, he can totally do it. I totally think, like, this could be a great way to move Dick's story forward. Of course, Bruce will come back because, like, he's one of those characters that I don't want to just kill off unceremoniously. I feel like there needs to be a big story for Batman for end his career, but like for like phase 5 and maybe phase 6, Dick Grayson's going to be the main Batman. Also, in like the longer term, I want to really focus on the relationship between Nightwing and Oracle. Their relationship was really great in the comics, and I love them. They have bumps in the road, but they clearly like need to be together. And I would like the idea of them like Nightwing proposing to her like in that one issue, which I'll just show on screen. I think it'd be cool and it'd be fun. But yeah, that's just my ideas as to what I would do with Dick Grayson in the DCU. Yeah, so that's it. That's my daily upload.